Well, that is the Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur taking us through the decisions taken by the Union Cabinet today to hike the MSP for the Kharif crops. We're now joined by Aditi Nayar, Chief Economist at ICRA. Aditi, many thanks for joining us. We're still waiting to get clarity on what the percentage increase has been year on year. What we did hear from the Minister there was a comparison between 2014 and MSP for this year. But on the face of it, Aditi, what do you make of what we have heard? I'm looking at the government press release, which says that the approved rates at least 1.5 times of the All India weighted average cost of production. Sesame 523 rupees per quintal, moong 480 rupees per quintal, and sunflower seeds 385 rupees per quintal.
Thanks, Shireen. What I understood was that the absolute increases in the MSPs are higher for the oilseeds and the pulses that are grown in the Kharif season as compared to the cereals. And I think that is an appropriate thing to do, because when we look at what are the items that are causing inflation right now, certainly oilseeds is a big issue. The other item which is causing us trouble on the inflation front is wheat, but that's the Rabi crops. There's very little we can do about it right now. And on the pulses side, because we have had a traditional import dependence, it's much better to really, signal a shift for the farmers in terms of providing a more remunerative MSP for both oilseeds and for pulses, and really sort of nudge away from cereals at this point in time. So if I've understood the absolute increases correctly, then I think this is very much in line. Other than that, of course, we are in a very challenging situation overall, whether, whatever component of inflation we look at, whether it's food, between the items that are globally causing trouble, or our vegetables where the heat wave has had an impact, or the core items, particularly, we do expect a rise in demand for services this year, which does mean that services inflation is going to be on the higher side as well. And commodity prices, of course, are on an uptrend. So it's overall a very challenging scenario on the inflation front. And anything that sort of pushes a domestic production, particularly of oilseeds amongst the Kharif crops, I think that's certainly very helpful.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It is a challenging environment, and of course we saw what the MPC has decided to do today. And I also want to bring in the comments that we got from the Finance Ministry with the Economic Affairs Secretary saying that, look, given the situation, there are no textbook solutions. The government will have to react and respond to the situation as it plays itself out. Given what we are seeing at this point in time, Aditi, what are the tools available? We've already seen what the RBI and the MPC have decided to do, but what else do you believe could be possible tools available now, given where inflation finds itself, as well as the external factors that we have to contend with?
So, from the MPC, particularly given the governor's comment that, the reminder that even today the repo rate is still below the pre-policy level, we certainly expect repo hikes to continue. We now penciling in 35 basis points in the next review in August and 25 basis points in the September review, taking us to 5.5%. I think that would be a good time to take a pause and really understand what has been the impact on growth. Cautioning against over-tightening, as that will lead to a domestic growth sacrifice at a time when the original triggers for this high inflation episode are more global in nature. So while we do think that policy tightening from the RBI, from the MPC is very much warranted to clamp down on inflationary expectations and prevent them from unhinging, we are still at the same time cautioning against over-tightening, given the unevenness of growth and the fragility of the momentum in certain sectors. From the government side, of course, they've taken a lot of measures. The cut in the excise duty rates back to the pre-pandemic levels was very welcome. Unfortunately, crude oil prices have started rising again. And the governor made a comment this morning about states potentially reducing VAT rates. I think that's again a very welcome nudge, but perhaps the timing may not be very opportune from the state's point of view, because we are very close to the end of the GST compensation regime. So it might take some additional sort of revenue visibility for the state governments to really be able to convince them to reduce the VAT rate, which possibly would be one of the larger fiscal measures that could be taken at this point in time to cool down the inflationary outlook.
Any prospects as far as cooling down on food inflation, Aditi, given the fact that supply disruptions continue, and of course, we haven't seen any relief coming in on that front?
See, on the food inflation side, again, there are some positives, but there are also some concerns that we're still holding on. Firstly, the IMD has increased the forecast for the monsoon for this year. That's always that's very encouraging. But the timing of the monsoon progress across the country and whether it's going to be reasonably sort of distributed, that of course remains a bigger question. And to my mind, most critical is getting healthy rains across the country in the month of July, because that's when the bulk of our sowing really takes place. So that's something we're hoping is going to be the case in 2022. As of now, the reservoir levels are still good as far as the seasonal, levels are concerned. They've come down, of course, over the last few months, but compared to last year, we're still slightly higher. So at least that's not a negative. Following the heat wave that we've seen that's been quite intense in many parts of the country. But availability of fertilizers is one concern that we have. And the second is that, there is likely to be quite a significant shift in manpower back from the hinterland to the urban areas to take advantage of the services sector jobs which are coming back. So we are concerned that compared to the last 2 years, there may be sort of just fewer people in the rural areas to till the land, and therefore acreage may be relatively subdued compared to what we've seen in the last 2 years. And therefore, we're not very hopeful that even with a normal monsoon, we're going to get this very large increase in acreage or in the overall agricultural GVA growth. And therefore, combined with the fact that the wheat crop is only going to be sown now in the winter, there are concerns that food inflation really may not recede very meaningfully over the next couple of months.
Well, that certainly is a concern at this point in time. But Aditi, many thanks for joining us with a very quick reaction to the MSP changes that have been announced by the Union Cabinet this evening. As always, thanks very much for your time.